Welcome to the Business Podcast, where we interview professionals across all industries. Hey, it's Simon. Welcome back. Today we have Neil Newcomb, the CEO of Franchising for Kelly's Roast Beef. Neil, it's a pleasure to have you here with us today. How are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Perhaps you can kick us off and tell us a little bit about yourself, personally and professionally, and maybe share something that most people might not know about you.
Um, sure. I got my start into this business right out of college. My father had started he owned an old gas station, and we started making sandwiches out of it. I was there when we started making the sandwiches, and he decided to grow it. And when he got it to 4 units, he decided to franchise it. It was new for us, and I was in charge of franchising, and my brother was in charge of company operations, and that became McAllister's Deli. After we sold that to Rourke Capital, I formed a partnership with Bricks Wood Fired Pizza to develop a franchise program there. And somewhere along the way, I met Ray Carey IV, the grandson of the founder of Kelly's Roast Beef, and he had some plans and ideas of his family business that they co-owned with the McCarthy family, and we formed a partnership and are really excited about the opportunities that Kelly's Roast Beef offers.
Absolutely. And could you talk a little bit about that opportunity and what it means to franchisees and in this day
Sure.
and age?
Kelly's is a really loved Boston brand. If we like to say, if you've been to Boston and you haven't eaten at Kelly's, have you really been to Boston? We started the North Shore of Boston makes this wonderful red roast beef sandwich. You find it all over the North Shore, served with mayonnaise, certain kind of barbecue sauce, James River barbecue sauce, and cheese on a toasted bun, buttered and toasted bun, and it is absolutely delicious. And we were the first restaurant to do it back in 1952, and everybody has copied it since then. And but nobody has met the standard, as I like to say.
It definitely sounds like something mouth-watering and really good to enjoy. Roast beef and barbecue. It's very hard to go wrong with that.
It really melts in your mouth.
Yeah. Given what you mentioned earlier, you did talk about how you sold to Rourke Capital. Could you talk a little bit about that experience you had being an operator and then having a successful exit, and maybe what that mindset you had in looking for new opportunities where you eventually found it to be working with Kelly's Roast Beef?
Sure. So um, at McAllister's, I was involved with the company at so many levels. I was an executive with the company for a while. I was on the board of directors for a while, and I was also a franchisee of the company. And it was just a great learning experience to go from um, a startup, entrepreneurial, everybody do everything environment to having a more formalized board of directors and investors, and to go through an auction process. Um, it was a quick learning curve. And I'm sorry, I forgot the rest of the question.
I think you answered that well. And, curious about after that experience where, as you mentioned, going from doing a lot of things, wearing many hats to structure and then having a successful exit, what was your mindset around seeking new opportunities that
Sure.
led you to want to join Kelly's Roast Beef?
Well, I think the first thing I look for is two things. Is the box um, a good investment? Are the margins so thin you can't, burn a tray of cookies without ruining your profit for the day? So we need successful margins. And then the return on investment, how much are we investing into this business versus what we're going to get out? If those two things come first, and then how hard is it to replicate? If we are having to, if you need a chef to cook angel hair pasta and reduce cream to just the right consistency, it might not be a good fit for me. Um, I want something that has standards and is easy to replicate without um, having to, for each restaurant to have a professionally trained chef, a professionally trained sous chef, and on down the line. So that is what I look for, and a strong brand. I mean, the that's something you develop over time. That doesn't have to be there because that can be worked on. But at some point, you want to own a piece of the consumer's mind that when they want something good, they know what you offer.
Absolutely. And when it comes to recent events and how Kelly's Roast Beef had adapted, what has been the shift in serving the customers and adapting to the new normal?
Well, if you're talking about the adapting in COVID, fortunately for us, we had a drive-through, and when a lot of restaurants were shutting down, our drive-through was getting busy. Um, we served the customer, four different ways: catering, which is a small percentage of sales, in-store takeout, in-store dining, and the drive-through. And when the indoor, by necessity and by Massachusetts law was shut down, we were able to really pick up the drive-through. Oh, and delivery. I have, that is something that's also we can't forget delivery.
Absolutely. And as the world is opening up now, have there been any shifts in operations and approaches to delivering more of what the customers want at this point in time?
Well, so far we haven't completely shifted back, and it's not from anything we've done. It's customer preference. The customer has decided they like our drive-through um, a lot, and they're sticking with it.
Absolutely. And what kind of feedback have you received from your franchisees, or I guess interesting insights have you gleaned from how they were able to adapt, or any ideas that they have in order to continue driving more value to the customers?
Sure. So the most ideas have come from franchisees who we're not open in Florida yet, but we will be open in Florida. And while there are a lot of Boston natives in Florida, we can't count on everyone knowing um, about the roast beef sandwich. And there's a difference between a deli roast beef sandwich and our red roast beef sandwich, and how it's typically served and ordered. And so we are, I think our number one challenge now is how do we present ourselves to new customers? How do we educate them on what we are? We are a beachfront um, concept that, although we are roast beef, 40% of our sales are seafood, and that's important to us. So it's got to jive that this roast beef sandwich and this lobster roll go together.
Definitely. What's perhaps one of your favorite things on the menu?
The roast beef sandwich and the lobster roll. I'd say the clams also. I actually I could keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, it seems like it. It seems like something to have daily. Um, what's exciting you these days about the growth, the opportunity, and maybe you could share a little bit about that.
Sure. The most exciting part, our average unit volumes are 5.1 million, and that's hard to find in a concept that is franchisable. Typically, when you get to that level of um, volumes, you get into a more complicated restaurant concept, and yet I think we're still easy enough to replicate on a mass level.
And how would you characterize your most successful franchisees? What is it that they might be doing that helps drive them to have better customer loyalty, stronger repeat business?
Sure. It's a follow the plan, and follow and with a high level of detail. In my in past lives, when I visit a franchise restaurant and they show me all the creativity they bring to the table, they're typically missing the details of getting the specs right. Did they put the right amount of ingredients into an entree, or did they freehand it? Um, Also, if we're a dinner restaurant and you visit them and they say, "Gosh, wouldn't breakfast be great?" They're probably not focused on knowing what their numbers are. They're probably grasping at straws. So I would say, a good franchisee has a discipline about them that can execute the details correctly.
And to the point you made earlier about the revenues that come in are atypical and more seen in a more sophisticated restaurant concept. What are some other distinguishing characteristics that makes the franchise opportunity with Kelly's Roast Beef unique?
I would say the product. It is. We're starting with a 12 pound, 12 to 14 pound piece of raw beef. We're slow cooking it for several hours, and then slicing it while it's still warm. It's not something you are going to get anywhere else. Nobody is going to step in our lane. Nobody is going to say, "Hey, me too." The way, say, the fried chicken sandwich is now served everywhere. Um, it's just we own our space.
Phenomenal. Well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. If we switch gears for a moment and you could go back in time to any point in history and meet with anyone, perhaps a legend in the food and beverage industry, who might it be?
Gosh, a legend in the food and beverage industry. Actually, I think I would meet with somebody outside of the food and beverage industry. It might be Tiger Woods, present day, and say, How do you win so much?" Or it might be George Washington to say, "What was your intent for this country?"
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, that would be a great question. I want to ask that too now to Tiger Woods and to George Washington. Um, until we speak again, perhaps you can share a parting thought for now.
A parting thought: um, be kind to your neighbor.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a pleasure, Neil, and look forward to talking soon.
It was great talking to you too. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. Thanks for attending the Business Podcast, and stay tuned for more episodes.